chosen one. Drop everything. Heaven just issued a spiritual alert, and your name is in it. This is not a motivational speech. This is a divine dispatch. In the next 48 hours, something is going to shift in the invisible realm that will either lift your spirit to heights you've never known, or leave you wondering why you felt so empty when breakthrough was within reach. Heaven is no longer whispering, it's roaring. Angels have been deployed with your address. Strongholds that have held your family captive for decades are trembling. The enemy knows his time over your life is up, and he's getting desperate. But here's what he doesn't know. God has been preparing you in secret. Every sleepless night, every tear you cried when no one was watching, every prayer you whispered when your voice was too broken to speak aloud. Heaven recorded it all. And now, right now, the answer is thundering toward you. You've been asking for a sign. This is it. The weight you've been carrying, the dreams that died, the hope that flickered out. God is about to resurrect what looked permanently buried, but only if you're spiritually awake to receive it. If you stay asleep spiritually, you'll miss it. But if you wake up, if you lean in, you'll break through walls that have stood for generations. Listen. If your spirit is stirring right now, if you feel that sacred pull in your chest, that electricity in the air, stay. Don't blink, don't scroll. This message was written in heaven with your name on it. You're not here by accident. This isn't entertainment. You've been summoned. Type 777 in the comments. If you feel the presence of God shifting something around you right now, let heaven know you're awake. Let the enemy know his reign over your life ends today. To everyone who's been faithful to this mission through your prayers, your time, your giving, you're not just supporting a message. You're partnering with heaven to reach someone sitting in darkness who needs to know their story isn't over. Now breathe, stay close, lock in with me. Because what you're about to hear in the next few minutes has the power to rewrite your entire story. The next 48 hours will either confirm what God has been building in secret, or reveal why you felt so restless. The trembling in your spirit, that's not anxiety, that's anticipation. Something is coming, and it has your name written in light. Are you ready? Have you felt it lately? That trembling deep in your chest when the world goes quiet? Have you wondered if you're losing your mind, or if something sacred is finally waking up? You're not imagining the heaviness in the air, chosen one. It's not anxiety. It's not your age catching up with you. It's not the weight of your disappointments pressing down on your lungs. It's divine vibration. For months now, you've been carrying this strange restlessness, like electricity before a storm, like the moment before an earthquake when even the birds go silent. You've felt it in your bones, haven't you? That sense that something massive is moving beneath the surface of your ordinary days. You were the one who carried fire in a world built for ice. While others learned to numb themselves, you felt everything. Every betrayal cut deeper, every loss left scars that never quite healed. Every closed door felt like a personal rejection from heaven itself. They called you too sensitive, too emotional, too much. But what if I told you that your sensitivity wasn't a weakness, but a spiritual antenna? What if your tears weren't evidence of your fragility, but proof of your proximity to the heart of God? You see, chosen one, the earth doesn't shake randomly. Geologists know this. Earthquakes come before tectonic transformation. The ground splits open not to destroy, but to release what's been building under pressure for decades. For this is what the Lord Almighty says, "In a little while I will once more shake the heavens and the earth." Haggai 2-6. God doesn't shake things to scare you. He shakes things to wake you up. The trembling in your soul, that's not fear. That's anticipation. That's your spirit recognizing the sound of heaven's footsteps getting closer. That's your heart beating in sync with the rhythm of divine breakthrough. You've been asking God why everything feels so unstable lately, why your old routines don't satisfy you anymore, why your old prayers feel hollow, why the things that used to bring you peace now leave you restless. Here's what heaven wants you to know. The shaking in your life is God saying, "Get ready. Something's breaking open." Think about it. When was the last time God did something extraordinary in ordinary circumstances? When was the last time a miracle happened in the middle of comfort and predictability? Never. Miracles are born in the earthquake zones of human experience. Resurrections happen in graveyards. Burning bushes appear in wilderness seasons. Red seas part when there's nowhere else to run. The chaos you've been living through, the sleepless nights, the feeling that your old life is crumbling, that's not evidence that God has forgotten you. That's evidence that God is preparing to remember you in ways the world can't ignore. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? That quiet rumbling underneath your prayers. That's not your stomach. That's not your nerves. That's the sound of strongholds cracking. That's the sound of generational curses losing their grip. That's the sound of doors that have been locked for decades, beginning to turn on their hinges. You know why you felt so alone lately, why even your closest friends can't seem to understand what you're going through, why your family looks at you like you're speaking a foreign language when you try to explain this spiritual hunger that's been consuming you, because God has been separating you, isolating you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. You can't hear the whisper of heaven when you're surrounded by the noise of everyone else's opinions. You can't receive a divine download when your phone is buzzing with human drama. You can't be transformed when you're trying to maintain your old identity for the comfort of people who were never meant to walk where you're going. The loneliness you've been feeling, that's not abandonment. That's sacred solitude. That's God clearing the room so He can speak to you without interruption. But here's what you need to understand. Chosen one. This shaking, this rumbling, this sense that everything solid is becoming liquid, this isn't the enemy trying to break you. It's God breaking open what couldn't be opened any other way. Your heart had to be broken before it could be expanded. Your old dreams had to die before your divine assignment could be born. Your human strength had to fail before His supernatural power could flow through you. The earthquake isn't destroying your foundation. It's revealing that you were never meant to build on sand in the first place. You were always meant to build on the rock. And the rock doesn't shake. The rock doesn't crumble. The rock doesn't abandon his children in the middle of the storm. So why does everything feel so unstable? Because God is teaching you the difference between what can be shaken and what cannot be shaken. He's showing you what's temporary and what's eternal. He's separating what you built with your hands from what He's building with His heart. Right now, as you sit there listening to these words, something is shifting in the invisible realm. Angels are moving. Principalities are retreating. The very atmosphere around your life is being charged with possibility. You feel it, don't you? That electricity in the air, that sense that you're standing on the edge of something that could change everything. That's not your imagination. That's prophecy trying to break through. Chosen one. If you felt the trembling in your soul lately, if you felt like you're about to either fall apart or fall into something magnificent, declare it right now. Don't whisper it. Don't think it. Speak it with the authority of someone who has survived the shaking and is still standing. I'm not breaking down. I'm breaking through. Say it again, louder this time. Let your neighbors hear it. Let the demons hear it. Let heaven hear it. I'm not breaking down. I'm breaking through, because what you thought was an ending was actually a beginning. What you thought was a collapse was actually a construction project. What you thought was God shaking you apart was actually God shaking everything off of you that was never meant to stay. The trembling is almost over, chosen one. The shaking is about to stop. But when it does, you won't be the same person who entered this season. You won't have the same fears. You won't have the same limitations. You won't have the same small dreams. When the dust settles, you're going to look around and realize that everything that was meant to stay, stayed, and everything that was meant to go is gone. But before we talk about what's coming, we need to talk about what you're going to wear into battle. Have you ever wondered why the attacks on your life feel so personal? Why the enemy knows exactly which buttons to push? Why every wound seems to have your name carved into it? It's because you were never meant to live an ordinary life. You've been walking through battles disguised as bad luck, warfare camouflaged as coincidence, spiritual assassination attempts that the world calls just life happening. But I need you to hear this. You weren't just chosen to survive. You were armed to disarm darkness. The loneliness you've carried, that wasn't abandonment. That was isolation for preparation. Every night you cried alone, heaven was forging steel in your soul. Every prayer that felt unanswered was actually God teaching you to fight in silence. You are the one who carried fire in a world built for ice, the one who saw light when everyone else adjusted to the dark, the one who refused to bow when bowing would have been easier, and that made you dangerous. Listen to me carefully. Spiritual laziness in this hour is fatal. The enemy isn't playing games anymore. He's not sending minor inconveniences. He's launching full-scale warfare against every chosen vessel who's about to step into their destiny. The attacks you've been feeling, they're not random, they're strategic. But here's what the enemy miscalculated. God didn't send you into this battle naked. Therefore, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Ephesians 6:13. The armor of God isn't just poetry. It's not metaphor. It's not Sunday school flannel board material. It's protective technology from heaven's arsenal. Belt of truth around your waist. Not truth as information, truth as identity. The truth that you belong to God. The truth that your story isn't over. The truth that what the enemy meant for evil, God is flipping for glory. Breastplate of righteousness covering your heart. Not self-righteousness, not performance, but the righteousness of Christ wrapping around the most vulnerable part of you, your ability to love, to hope, to believe again. Feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Not peace as the absence of conflict, but peace as the presence of God in the middle of the storm. Peace that lets you walk into enemy territory, knowing who walks beside you. Shield of faith. Not faith as feeling, faith as fact. The kind of faith that says, even if I can't see it, I know God is working. Even if I can't feel it, I know God is moving. Even if I can't understand it, I know God is faithful. Helmet of salvation, protecting your mind. The enemy's favorite playground is between your ears. But when your thoughts are guarded by the reality of who you are in Christ, his whispers lose their power. And the sword of the Spirit, the Word of God. The only offensive weapon in the arsenal, not defensive, offensive. Every word that proceeds from the mouth of God has the power to cut through lies, shatter strongholds, and carve out pathways where there seem to be none. This isn't a robe and sandals season, beloved. This is a war boots and sword moment. The enemy thought he could wear you down with delay, discourage you with disappointment, destroy you with despair. But what he didn't know is that God was using every attack to teach you how to wield weapons you didn't know you had. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every rejection taught you to find your worth in God alone. Every closed door taught you to trust divine timing. Every night of crying taught you to worship through tears. You're not soft anymore, you're suited. Close your eyes for just a moment. Can you feel it? The weight of glory settling on your shoulders. That's not pressure, that's preparation. That's not burden, that's blessing. You're being equipped for battles that will liberate territories you haven't even seen yet. The weariness you've been feeling isn't weakness. It's the weight of spiritual armor being fitted to your frame. God is dressing you for war, and heavy armor always feels awkward at first. But once you learn to move in it, once you understand what you're carrying, once you realize that every piece was custom-made for the specific battles you'll face, you become unstoppable. The attacks that used to devastate you will bounce off like raindrops. The voices that used to defeat you will sound like whispers in a hurricane. The fears that used to paralyze you will crumble under the weight of divine authority. I need you to understand something. The reason the battle feels so intense right now is because you're standing at the threshold of your greatest breakthrough. The enemy knows that once you step into your full armor, once you realize who you really are, once you start walking in the authority God gave you, his reign of terror over your life is over. This is why he's pulling out all the stops. This is why everything seems to be falling apart at once. This is why the spiritual atmosphere around you feels electric with tension. He's making his last stand. But you need to know you've already won, not because you're strong enough, but because the one who lives inside you has never lost a battle. Not because you're brave enough, but because perfect love casts out fear. Not because you're wise enough, but because the Spirit of truth guides you into all truth. Say it with your soul. I'm not soft, I'm suited. I'm not weak, I'm weaponized. The enemy miscalculated. He thought silence meant surrender. He thought delay meant defeat. He thought your tears meant you were broken. But what he didn't know is that God was forging you in the fire, tempering your spirit like steel, building spiritual muscle in the gymnasium of adversity. You're not the same person who entered this battle. You're stronger, wiser, more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness than you've ever been. The armor fits you now. The weapons feel familiar in your hands. The authority in your voice makes demons tremble. And the beautiful thing is, this is just the beginning. Because God doesn't just arm his chosen ones to survive their own battles. He arms them to liberate others who are still trapped in enemy territory. He arms them to be the answer to someone else's prayers. He arms them to carry light into places where darkness thought it would reign forever. The question is, are you ready to stop fighting for yourself and start fighting for your assignment? Because what comes next requires more than survival instincts. It requires the heart of a warrior. Have you ever wondered why your prayers felt like they hit a ceiling? Why every breakthrough seemed to crumble just before it reached your hands? Why the very thing you were born to do felt wrapped in invisible chains? Chosen one, what if I told you those weren't accidents, but assignments from hell itself? For decades, the enemy has been building silent prisons around your purpose, brick by brick, lie by lie, generation by generation. Fear became your warden. Anxiety, your cellmate. Shame, the lock that kept you from even trying to escape. You thought it was just your personality, just your luck, just the way life goes for people like you. But heaven sees it differently. You were the one carrying fire in a world built for ice. The one speaking truth when everyone else whispered comfortable lies. The one who felt everything too much, too deep, too real, while others seemed to glide through life untouched. They called you sensitive, emotional, too intense. What they didn't understand was this: God had marked you, chosen you, set you apart not for comfort, but for conquest. Listen to what heaven declares over you. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1-5. You weren't born broken. You were born branded. But here's what the enemy knew that you didn't. If he could convince you that your depth was dysfunction, your calling was chaos, your fire was just fury, he could keep heaven's weapon locked in a prison of self-doubt. So he built strongholds, not walls you could see, but systems you couldn't escape. The stronghold of fear whispered, "What if you fail?" The stronghold of shame hissed, "What if they see who you really are?" The stronghold of rejection screamed, "What if you're not enough?" And slowly, silently, you began to believe the lies were louder than the truth. You stopped dreaming, stopped reaching, stopped believing that God still had plans for someone like you. But chosen one, can you feel it? That trembling in the atmosphere around you? That's not anxiety. That's anticipation. Because right now, in this very moment, God is walking through your spiritual prison, and he's carrying a hammer. Not a gentle tap, not a soft suggestion, a sledgehammer of divine truth that shatters what man cannot break. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. 2 Corinthians 10-4. Divine power, not human effort, not positive thinking, not trying harder. Divine power. The same power that spoke light into darkness is speaking freedom into your captivity. The same voice that called Lazarus from the tomb is calling you out of the prison the enemy built around your purpose. Can you hear it? That sound of chains snapping, that rumble of walls crumbling. Every generational curse that said people like us don't succeed broken. Every lie that whispered you're too old, too broken, too late shattered. Every fear that convinced you to stay small, stay quiet, stay hidden demolished. This isn't therapy, chosen one. This is warfare. And you're not the victim anymore, you're the victor. What took years to build, God is destroying in seconds. What seemed permanent, He's proving was only temporary. What felt impossible, He's making inevitable. The stronghold of abandonment that convinced you God had forgotten your name, He just called you by it. The stronghold of rejection that made you feel like you didn't belong anywhere, He just prepared a place specifically for you. The stronghold of delay that whispered, "It's too late for you," He just declared, "Your time is now." Close your eyes. Can you feel it? The weight lifting, the pressure releasing? That's not relief, that's resurrection. You're not just getting free, you're getting equipped, armed, appointed. Because every chain that held you was also training you. Every wall that trapped you was also teaching you. Every stronghold that seemed to defeat you was actually developing you for this moment. The moment when you realize, what therapy couldn't break, obedience just shattered. Not because therapy is weak, but because some prisons require divine keys, some battles demand heavenly weapons, some victories need God's hands, not man's help. You tried to think your way out, tried to work your way out, tried to earn your way out. But freedom was never about your performance. It was about His presence. And right now, His presence is demolishing every argument the enemy made against your destiny, every accusation he filed against your future, every case he built against your calling. The gavel of heaven just came down. The verdict is in. Not guilty. Chosen. Called. Commissioned. Chosen one. I need you to do something right now. I need you to speak into the atmosphere what heaven just declared over your life. Stand up if you can. Look in the mirror if you have to. But speak it aloud with the authority of someone who just got the keys to their own prison. This stronghold ends with me. Say it again. This stronghold ends with me. One more time. With the fire of someone who just remembered they carry the DNA of the Most High. This stronghold ends with me. Do you feel that? That shift in the air around you? That's not imagination. That's inauguration. You just stepped into the identity the enemy spent years trying to convince you wasn't real. The chains are broken. The walls have fallen. The prison door is wide open. But here's what most people don't understand about freedom. It's not just about what you leave behind. It's about what you step into. And what you're stepping into next will require every ounce of strength those strongholds actually developed in you. How long have you been waiting? How many nights have you stared at the ceiling, wondering if God forgot your address? How many mornings have you whispered the same prayer, only to watch the sun set on another day of silence? You've been circling the same mountain for what feels like 40 years, the same job that drains your soul, the same relationships that leave you empty, the same bank account that mocks your prayers, the same diagnosis that won't budge. The same loneliness that follows you from room to room like a shadow you can't shake. But what if I told you that every circle wasn't wasted wandering, but divine preparation? You were the one who carried fire in a world built for ice. While others settled for lukewarm lives, your spirit burned for something more, something sacred, something real. And that fire, that restless, relentless fire, has been your compass through every confusing season. They called you intense, too deep, too spiritual, too much. But heaven called you chosen. Listen to what God whispered over you before you even took your first breath. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1-5. You weren't an accident stumbling through life. You were a divine assignment wrapped in flesh, sent to a generation that forgot how to hope. Every delay you've endured wasn't God ignoring you. It was God preparing the stage for something so magnificent that if it had come too early, it would have crushed you under its weight. But here's what's shifting in the spirit right now, and you can feel it, can't you? That electricity in the air, that restlessness in your bones, that sense that something massive is about to break open. Heaven just flipped the map. The mountain you've been circling, God just moved it. The door that's been locked, the key is turning. The green light you've been praying for, begging for, crying for in the middle of sleepless nights. It's not just coming. It's pulsing now. When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. Isaiah 60:22. And beloved, the time is right. The cosmic clock just struck midnight on your delay. The spiritual seasons just shifted. What felt permanent is about to prove temporary. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? The whisper cutting through the noise of your doubts. It's God, and He's still calling you by name. Not the name your pain gave you, failure, forgotten, too late, but the name heaven carved into your destiny before time began. Chosen, called, commissioned. You didn't miss your moment. Your moment was waiting for your readiness. Every tear you cried was tenderizing your heart for the joy that's coming. Every closed door was protecting you from settling for less than God's best. Every season of silence was heaven preparing your ears to hear instructions that will change everything. The enemy convinced you that delay meant denial, but God's delays are never rejections, they're divine incubations. While you thought you were stuck, you were actually being strengthened. While you felt forgotten, you were being formed. While others rushed ahead and burned out, you were being prepared for a marathon of miracles. What if the very thing that frustrated you most, the waiting, the wondering, the walking in circles, was actually God's mercy? What if He was holding back your breakthrough not to punish you, but to protect you? What if He knew that what He was preparing for you was so powerful, so life-altering, so generationally impactful, that you needed every day of preparation to carry it with grace? Your delay wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Your silence wasn't abandonment, it was sacred incubation. Your stuck season wasn't evidence of God's forgetfulness, it was proof of His faithfulness to perfect what concerns you. And now, right now, the spiritual climate is shifting. The atmospheric pressure in the heavenly realm just changed. Angels who have been on standby just received their marching orders. Doors that have been sealed are being unsealed. Resources that have been held in heaven's treasury are being released. That project that died, it's being resurrected. That relationship that ended, it's being redeemed or replaced with something better. That dream that you buried, God is breathing life back into its bones. That calling you thought you missed, it's knocking on your door again, louder this time. You feel it, don't you? That stirring, that quickening, that sense that you're standing at the edge of something unprecedented. It's not anxiety, it's anticipation. It's not fear, it's the flutter of wings before flight. The stuck season is over. The delay has been cancelled. The green light isn't coming, it's here. Every prayer you prayed in secret is about to be answered in public. Every seed you planted in tears is about to bloom in triumph. Every step you took in faith when you couldn't see the path is about to prove that you were never walking alone. God isn't just opening a door for you, He's opening the floodgates. He's not just giving you a breakthrough, He's giving you a breakthrough that breaks through for generations behind you and ahead of you. The mountain isn't just moving, it's being thrown into the sea. The wilderness isn't just ending, you're crossing into your promised land. The waiting isn't just over, the walking in fullness is beginning. But here's what you need to understand, this shift requires something from you. You can't carry new wine in old wineskins. You can't step into your next season wearing the clothes of your last season. You can't walk into destiny while still rehearsing the script of delay. You have to let go of the story that says you're behind. You have to release the narrative that says you're forgotten. You have to stop measuring your progress by their timeline and start moving by God's clock. His clock doesn't tick like Earth's clock. His time doesn't bow to human impatience. His seasons don't conform to your calendar. When God says it's time, mountains move in moments. When God says it's ready, miracles happen overnight. When God says go, the Red Sea parts before your next step. Declare it boldly, not with your voice trembling in hope, but with your voice thundering in authority. I'm not behind. I'm right on God's clock. Say it again, louder. I'm not late. I'm right on time. One more time, until it settles in your bones. I didn't miss my moment. My moment is here. The delay that taught you patience has ended. The silence that built your character is breaking. The waiting that developed your faith is over. The season that felt like forever just became the foundation for everything. Your breakthrough isn't coming. Your breakthrough is here, and it's bigger than you imagined, better than you hoped, and more lasting than you dared to dream. The stuck season is over. The movement has begun. The delay has been cancelled, and your divine appointment with destiny is now. Can you feel heaven holding its breath, waiting to see what you'll do with this moment? Because what happens next doesn't just change your story, it changes the stories of everyone watching you rise from where you fell, break through from where you were broken, and shine from where you were hidden. The mountain just moved. The map just changed. The light just turned green. Your time is now. Have you ever felt your body betraying you? Like exhaustion became your shadow and rest became a stranger? What if I told you that what you're calling fatigue, heaven is calling transformation? Chosen one, listen closely. The weariness wrapping around your bones isn't weakness. It's not depression. It's not your age catching up with you. This isn't burnout. It's holy surgery. You've been lying there at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering why sleep feels like wrestling with angels. Your body aches in places that have no names. Your mind races through corridors of memory you thought were locked forever. But heaven sees something you don't. While you've been apologizing for your exhaustion, God has been operating. While you've been calling yourself broken, He's been calling you blessed. While you've been whispering, I can't do this anymore, He's been whispering back, you don't have to, I'm doing it for you. You are not falling apart. You are being taken apart by the Master's hands. Isaiah knew this mystery when he wrote, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." But before the soaring comes the stillness. Before the running comes the resting. While you rest, God is resetting your instincts, regenerating your body, reprogramming your thoughts. Picture this. You're lying in heaven's operating room, but there are no bright lights blinding you, no cold metal tables, just the warmth of divine presence and the gentle hum of eternity working in your cells. The great physician doesn't use scalpels. He uses stillness. He doesn't need anesthesia. He is the peace that passes understanding. Every breath you take in surrender is another breath of His Spirit rewiring your nervous system. Your DNA is being rewritten with resurrection code. Your blood is being infused with liquid hope. Your bones are remembering their original blueprint from Eden. This is divine science meeting spiritual stillness. The Apostle Paul understood this when he declared in 2 Timothy 1-7, "God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind." Power, not just to endure, but to overcome. Love, not just to receive, but to radiate. Sound mind, not just to think clearly, but to think like heaven. But here's what the church forgot to tell you. Before God gives you a sound mind, He has to silence the broken recordings. Before He fills you with power, He has to drain the poison of old wounds. Before He floods you with love, He has to flush out the fear that's been masquerading as wisdom. You thought you were just tired, but God knew you were ready. Ready for the divine download that only comes in the quiet hours. Ready for the cellular regeneration that only happens when you stop trying to fix yourself and start trusting Him to rebuild you. Every sleepless night has been a surgery session. Every moment of unexplained exhaustion has been your spirit under divine anesthesia. Every day you've felt disconnected from the world has been a day you've been more connected to eternity. Heaven's operating room doesn't use scalpels, it uses stillness. And in that stillness, miracles happen at the molecular level. Your cortisol levels are dropping as His peace floods your system. Your serotonin is stabilizing as His joy becomes your strength. Your immune system is fortifying as His love casts out the fear that's been making you sick. You've been carrying trauma in your tissues, storing stress in your spine, harboring hurt in your heart muscle. But God is performing precision surgery on every cell, every synapse, every sacred space where pain has been pretending to be permanent. The trembling in your hands, that's not anxiety, that's anointing. The heaviness in your chest, that's not depression, that's divine presence. The fog in your mind, That's not confusion, that's consecration. You are not losing your mind. You are finding your purpose. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? The subtle shift in your breathing, the gentle loosening in your shoulders, the quiet confidence creeping into your consciousness. That's not wishful thinking. That's divine biology. You're not tired, you're in divine anesthesia. And when you wake up from this sacred sleep, you won't just feel rested, you'll feel resurrected. You won't just have energy, you'll have authority. You won't just be healed, you'll be a healer. The same God who spoke light into darkness is speaking life into your DNA. The same Spirit who raised Christ from the dead is raising dead dreams in your bloodstream. The same power that parted the Red Sea is parting the sea of sorrow that's been drowning your soul. This is your moment of surrender. Not surrender like defeat, but surrender like a patient trusting the surgeon. Not giving up, but giving over. Not quitting, but quieting long enough for heaven to do what only heaven can do. Your body has been your battlefield, but now it's becoming your temple. Your mind has been your prison, but now it's becoming your palace. Your heart has been your hurt, but now it's becoming your hope. The old wiring is being removed. The new circuitry is being installed. And when God finishes this divine rewiring, you won't just think differently, you'll dream differently, love differently, hope differently, live differently. Every cell in your body is being baptized in breakthrough. Every nerve is being networked with heaven. Every bone is being blessed with purpose you haven't even discovered yet. Chosen one, this is your invitation to stop fighting the fatigue and start embracing the transformation. Stop apologizing for your exhaustion and start celebrating your elevation. Whisper this aloud. I surrender to the sacred silence. Say it again. I surrender to the sacred silence. One more time, with faith that moves mountains and molecules. I surrender to the sacred silence. Because in that surrender, heaven hears your yes to the new thing God is doing in your DNA. In that surrender, miracles stop being myths and start being your testimony. The surgery is almost complete. The anesthesia is starting to wear off. And when you fully awaken from this divine procedure, you're going to discover that you've been made new from the inside out. Have you ever stood at the edge of a dam and felt the power trembling beneath the concrete? Have you ever wondered if God forgot the promises He whispered to you in your darkest hour? What if I told you that every prayer you thought went unanswered has been building pressure behind heaven's floodgate, and it's about to burst? You know that feeling, don't you? The weight of years pressing against your chest. The dreams that dried up like riverbeds in August. The hope that cracked under the sun of disappointment. You've stood in your own personal drought for so long, you forgot what flowing water sounds like. But listen to me, chosen one. Your drought wasn't abandonment, it was preparation. Every tear that fell from your eyes, every night you lay awake wondering if God still remembered your name. Every morning you forced yourself to breathe when breathing felt like drowning. It was all being collected, stored, measured. Because heaven doesn't waste water, and heaven doesn't waste your pain. You were the one who carried rivers in a desert world. You were the one who held onto rain clouds when everyone else worshipped the sun. And they called you crazy, didn't they? They said you were living in fantasy. But what they couldn't see was that you weren't delusional, you were prophetic. The dam of delay is breaking, right now. As these words reach your soul, heaven's engineers are pulling the lever that's been locked for decades. The heavens are bursting over your drought, and what's coming won't be a gentle sprinkle. It's going to be a torrent of everything you thought was lost forever. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. Psalm 40:2. God didn't just see you drowning, beloved. He engineered your rescue before you even knew you needed saving. What felt stuck for years will flow freely in days. The job that wouldn't come, the healing that seemed impossible, the relationship that broke beyond repair, the calling that got buried under survival, it's all been held behind heaven's dam, and the release valve just opened. But here's what will shock you about this flood. It won't destroy you. It will come like a flood, but this time a flood of favor, a flood of restoration, A flood of divine vindication that will sweep away every lie the enemy planted in your mind about your worth, your purpose, your future. Do you remember Noah? The world mocked him for building an ark when there wasn't a cloud in the sky. But when God opened the floodgates of heaven, Noah wasn't drowning, he was sailing. That's you, chosen one. You've been building spiritual arks in drought seasons, and now you understand why. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? That trembling in your spirit. That's not anxiety, that's anticipation. Your soul recognizes the sound of rushing water before your mind does. You've been listening for this sound your entire life. The favor that's coming won't make sense to people who didn't see your faithfulness in the wilderness. They'll say, "You got lucky." They'll call it coincidence, but you'll know the truth. You'll know that every closed door was heaven redirecting the river. Every no was God saving your yes for something bigger. Your children will ask you how it happened so fast. Your neighbors will wonder what changed. But you'll smile that secret smile of someone who walked with God in the desert and learned to recognize his voice in the silence. You'll know that miracles aren't magic. They're the result of divine timing meeting human readiness. What if the loneliness you felt wasn't punishment, it was preparation? What if the isolation wasn't rejection, it was protection? What if every person who walked away from you was clearing space for the flood of right relationships that's about to rush in? The floodgate doesn't open gradually, beloved. It explodes. One moment you're standing in dust, and the next moment you're swimming in abundance. One day you're wondering if God hears you, and the next day you're trying to process how he answered 12 prayers in 12 hours. This is your moment. This is your flood season. But unlike the world's floods that leave destruction, God's floods leave restoration in their wake. Where the water touches, life returns. Where the current flows, dead things bloom again. You didn't need more strength to break through that wall. You needed divine permission, and it just came. Not as a whisper this time, as a roar. The sound of heaven's floodgates opening over your life, washing away every barrier that stood between you and your destiny. But here's the part that will take your breath away. This flood doesn't just carry blessings, it carries back everything the enemy stole from you. Your confidence, your joy, your sense of purpose, your ability to dream again. It's all rushing back to you in the current of God's goodness. Stand up, chosen one, not because I'm telling you to, but because your spirit is already rising. You can feel it, can't you? The shift, the movement, the sound of spiritual floodwaters breaking through decades of spiritual drought. Some of you are already crying, and you don't even know why. That's your soul recognizing the sound of answered prayer. That's your heart, remembering what hope feels like when it's not mixed with fear. The flood is here. It has your name written in every drop. It carries your healing in every wave. And it's flowing toward you right now with the force of every prayer you ever prayed, every song you sang through tears, every time you chose to believe when believing felt impossible. Chosen one, receive it. The blessing is bigger than the battle. The breakthrough is louder than the breakdown. And the flood of favor that's coming will make everyone who witnessed your wilderness season understand that your God never sleeps, never forgets, and never breaks his promises. The drought is over. The dam has burst. And you, beloved, you are about to remember what it feels like to swim in the goodness of God. But what you're about to discover next will shake you even deeper. Because this flood isn't just washing things toward you, it's also washing things away from you. And what leaves in this current will never have power over your life again. Have you ever felt like God forgot your address? Like your name was erased from heaven's emergency contact list? Have you wondered if your silence was proof that you weren't chosen, but abandoned? You've been sitting in the stillness so long, you started believing the lie that stillness meant death. But what if I told you that your isolation wasn't punishment, it was preparation? What if your hiddenness wasn't rejection but divine selection? You were the one who carried fire in a world built for ice. You spoke truth when everyone wanted comfort. You saw miracles when others saw problems. And they called you different, weird, too much, too spiritual, too believing. So you retreated, not by choice, by exhaustion. The invitations stopped coming because your presence reminded people of what they weren't willing to become. Your prayers got quieter because no one understood the language your soul was speaking. Your dreams got smaller because the world convinced you that God-sized visions were just religious fantasy. But listen to me, chosen one. God pulled you back, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1:5. That verse isn't poetry, it's prophetic DNA. God didn't just know you were coming, He designed the exact moment you'd need to disappear from the world's radar so He could rebuild you in secret. You've been hidden on purpose, because public miracles need private transformation. Think about it. A baby doesn't develop in a conference room, it grows in the hidden sanctuary of the womb. Nutrients flowing, heartbeat steady, protected from every storm outside. Invisible to the world, but very much alive. That's where you are right now. Like a baby in the womb, like Jesus in the tomb, hidden until glory. The tomb wasn't Jesus' failure, it was His finishing school. 3 days of darkness weren't abandonment, they were divine animation. Death wasn't the end, it was the dress rehearsal for resurrection. What if your seasons of silence have been the same thing? What if every door that closed was God saying, "Not yet, you're still cooking"? What if every friendship that faded was heaven clearing the room so your transformation could happen without interference? What if every dream that seemed to die was actually being buried so it could come back to life with supernatural power? You weren't abandoned, you were sealed. The enemy wants you to believe that hiddenness means forgotten. But God's economy works differently. He hides what He values. He conceals what He's about to reveal. He pulls back what He's about to propel forward. David was hidden in a field with sheep before he faced Goliath. Moses was hidden in the wilderness for 40 years before he split the Red Sea. Esther was hidden in the palace before she saved her people. Every single one of them thought their hiding was wasted time. But God was using their hiddenness to develop the muscles they'd need for their mission. Your hiddenness wasn't emptiness, it was incubation. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? That stirring in your chest. That restlessness in your spirit. That's not anxiety, that's the sound of something being born. Something that's been growing in secret. Something the world isn't ready to see yet. But you're almost ready to deliver it. The isolation you've endured has been divine surgery. God has been operating on your confidence, your calling, your capacity to carry glory without being destroyed by it. He's been removing the people-pleasing programming, deleting the approval addiction, rewiring your need for external validation. You thought you were getting weaker, but heaven's been making you stronger in places the world can't see. Your prayer life got deeper because the audience got smaller. Your worship became more authentic because it was no longer a performance. Your relationship with God became more intimate because there were fewer voices competing for your attention. This wasn't isolation, it was holy installation. God has been installing new software in your spiritual operating system, upgrading your capacity for miracles, expanding your tolerance for His presence, preparing you to carry a weight of glory that would have crushed the old version of you. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Your season of hiddenness is almost over. The same God who sealed you in is about to break you out. The same power that concealed you is about to reveal you. The same love that hid you is about to use you. You're not going to emerge the same. You're going to come out carrying something the world has never seen. An authority that wasn't earned through networking but forged in solitude. A wisdom that didn't come from books but from wrestling with God in the dark. A power that doesn't need a platform because it transforms atmospheres just by walking into a room. The world is about to meet the version of you that was crafted in secret. What if every tear you cried in private was liquid gold being poured into the foundation of your public ministry? What if every prayer you whispered in the dark was actually a blueprint being submitted to heaven's construction department? What if every moment you felt forgotten was actually you being remembered in ways that will shock you? Say this out loud. I'm not missing out, I'm being made new. Say it again. I'm not missing out, I'm being made new. The delay wasn't denial. The silence wasn't rejection. The hiddenness wasn't abandonment. It was incubation, sacred, necessary, divine. And the breaking out is about to begin. But before you step back into the light, before the world sees what God has been building in you, there's one more thing heaven needs you to understand about the weapon you've become in secret. Have you ever wondered why your deepest prayers seem to echo in empty rooms? Why the silence felt so loud it drowned out your own heartbeat? What if I told you that every unanswered whisper was actually heaven holding its breath, waiting for this exact moment? You thought you were forgotten. You thought your season had passed. You sat in corners while others danced in spotlights, wondering if God even remembered your name. But here's what you couldn't see from the shadows. You weren't being overlooked. You were being prepared. You were the one who carried fire in a world built for ice, the one who spoke truth when everyone else was selling comfort. They called you intense, too deep, too much. But what they couldn't understand is that God doesn't create shallow vessels for deep purposes. The isolation wasn't punishment, it was protection. Every night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if anyone saw your pain. God was there, collecting every tear, recording every silent scream, building something in the invisible realm that your natural eyes couldn't perceive. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. Do you perceive it now? Can you feel the shifting in your bones? The restlessness that keeps you awake isn't insomnia, it's anticipation. Your spirit knows something your mind hasn't caught up to yet. The silence you sat in? That was God building scaffolding for your rebirth. Every month you waited, every door that stayed closed, every opportunity that passed you by. You thought you were being left behind, but you were actually being left alone with the creator of the universe. And in that sacred solitude, he's been rewiring your DNA, restructuring your purpose, rebuilding your foundation strong enough to carry what's coming. What if the delay wasn't rejection but divine incubation? What if your hiddenness was heaven's way of saying, "Not yet, beloved. You're not ready for what I'm about to release through you." The caterpillar doesn't know it's becoming a butterfly. It just knows the darkness is suffocating. But that darkness? That's not a tomb. That's a womb. You've been in the cocoon long enough. The moment you rise, and you will rise, people will ask, "What happened to you?" There will be something different in your eyes, something deeper in your voice, something unshakable in your presence. They'll lean in when you speak, not because you're louder, but because you carry frequency now, vibration, the kind of energy that shifts atmospheres without trying. You'll walk into rooms and feel the spiritual temperature change, not by your volume, but by your vibration, not by what you say, but by what you've become. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? That stirring in your chest. That's not anxiety. That's not fear. That's the sound of chains breaking. That's the rumble of breakthrough rolling toward you like thunder. God is whispering your name right now. Not the name your parents gave you. The name he carved into your spirit before you took your first breath. The name that makes demons tremble and angels salute. You thought your time had passed. You thought you missed your window. But God doesn't operate on your timeline. He operates on Kairos time, divine timing, sacred timing. And your moment isn't coming. It's here. Every setback was a setup. Every closed door was protection from a path that would have broken you. Every no was God saving your yes for something bigger, something better, something that would require the person you've become in the waiting, not the person you were when you started praying. The new thing isn't just happening around you, it's happening in you, through you, as you. You're not waiting for breakthrough anymore. You are the breakthrough. You're not hoping for a miracle. You are the miracle someone's been praying for. That fire you felt as a child, the one that got dimmed by disappointment and dulled by delay, it's been smoldering under the ashes of your heartbreak. But God has been breathing on those embers. And now it's about to ignite into something this world has never seen. You were never meant to blend in. You were never designed to disappear into the background. You were born to carry glory, to be a walking testimony, to be living proof that God still moves, still heals, still calls the forgotten into the spotlight of his purpose. The enemy tried to convince you that your dreams died. But what if they didn't die? What if they were just buried? And what if God has been watering the soil of your heartbreak to prepare for the resurrection of everything you thought was lost? Your tears weren't wasted. They were seeds. Your pain wasn't pointless. It was preparation. Your silence wasn't surrender. It was sacred incubation. And now the season of hiding is over. The season of becoming has begun. You're about to step into rooms you never imagined you'd be invited to. Speak to hearts you never dreamed you'd reach. Carry influence you never thought you'd possess. Not because you climbed your way there, but because God is elevating you to where He always intended you to be. The promotion isn't coming from your boss. It's coming from the boardroom of heaven. The healing isn't coming from your doctor. It's coming from the great physician. The breakthrough isn't coming from your bank account. It's coming from the storehouse of glory that's been building interest on your faithfulness. Can you feel your pulse quickening? That's not excitement. That's recognition. Your spirit recognizes the sound of its own calling, the frequency of its own destiny. Chosen one, receive your mantle. It has your name written in fire, not written in ink that fades, not embroidered in thread that unravels, written in fire that burns eternal, carved in glory that never dims. This is your moment. This is your hour. This is your time to step out of the shadows and into the spotlight of divine purpose. The question isn't whether you're ready. The question is, will you receive what God is releasing? Because something new isn't just coming. Something new is here, and it's been waiting for you to realize. You are the new thing God has been doing. Have you ever stood at the edge of a cliff, knowing that one step forward would change everything forever? Have you felt the weight of destiny pressing against your chest, whispering that this moment, this very breath carries more power than every prayer you've ever prayed? What if I told you that the next 48 hours aren't just time passing, but eternity breaking into your timeline? You've been the one who carried fire in a world built for ice. The one who heard music in the silence while others complained about the noise. You've walked through valleys so deep that even your shadow got lost, and climbed mountains so high that heaven itself took notice. They called you sensitive. They called you strange. They said you felt too much, loved too hard, believed too deeply. But what they couldn't see was that God was building a sanctuary in your soul while the world was building walls around your heart. You were never broken, beloved. You were being broken open. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Jeremiah 1-5 wasn't written for the crowd. It was whispered over the ones who would carry light into the darkest places, the ones who would stand when others fell, the ones who would speak life when death seemed to have the final word. That's you, chosen one. That has always been you. But here's what's shaking in the heavens right now. The next 48 hours will shape the next 48 years of your legacy. What if the delay wasn't rejection but divine incubation? What if your silence was sacred, not accidental? What if every closed door was heaven saying, "Not yet, beloved. I'm preparing something unprecedented"? The trembling you feel in your spirit isn't fear, it's recognition. Your soul knows what your mind hasn't fully grasped yet. This is your moment. Don't scroll. Don't sleep. Don't delay. The enemy of your soul is counting on your hesitation. He's banking on your doubt. He's whispering, "You've missed too many moments. You're too old. Too tired. Too late." But heaven is roaring back. Rise up, warrior. Your time is now. Lock in. Arm up. Worship like it's war. Because that's exactly what this is. Not a battle for your circumstances, those are just symptoms. This is a battle for your identity, for your voice, for the fire that hell tried to extinguish but heaven kept alive in the secret chambers of your heart. Close your eyes. Can you feel it? The whisper. It's God. And He's still calling you by name. Not the name the world gave you, not the name your pain taught you to answer to, but the name He wrote in the stars before time began. Warrior, prophet, overcomer, beloved. What you speak in these 48 hours will be echoed by angels. Every word of faith will create ripples in eternity. Every declaration of truth will shift atmospheres. Every song of praise will unlock prison doors, not just yours, but for generations still sleeping in chains you're about to break. This isn't about positive thinking, chosen one. This is about prophetic declaration. There's a difference between hoping things will change and commanding them to align with heaven's blueprint. Your voice has been seasoned by suffering. Your words have been weighted by wisdom earned in the wilderness. When you speak now, creation itself leans in to listen. But here's the sacred urgency pressing against this moment. If you don't rise now, what part of the world stays in darkness? How many people are waiting for the breakthrough that only comes through your obedience? How many chains will remain locked because the key holder is still sitting in silence? You are not a spectator in this story, beloved. You are the chosen instrument through which heaven's symphony will be played. The devil thought he buried you, but God was planting you. Every tear was water for the seed. Every betrayal was fertilizer for the fruit. Every season of silence was root development for the harvest that's about to burst through the soil of your circumstances. When heaven moves, it looks for those who are still enough to sense it and bold enough to say, I am ready. Still enough to hear the whisper above the noise. Bold enough to stand when others sit. Faithful enough to believe when evidence suggests otherwise. The question that will determine everything is this: will you trust what God is doing in the invisible realm more than what your eyes are showing you in the visible one? Because right now, behind the veil of your circumstances, angels are moving furniture, doors are being unlocked, pathways are being cleared, enemies are being confused, favor is being released. But it requires your participation, not your perfection, your participation. Speak it, sing it, seal it with your faith. Declare over your health, by His stripes I am healed. Declare over your finances, my God supplies all my needs. Declare over your family, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Declare over your future, the plans He has for me are good. Don't whisper it, don't think it, declare it. Let your neighbors hear it. Let the enemy tremble at it. Let heaven record it as evidence that faith is still alive on the earth. Chosen one, this is your commissioning moment, your burning bush encounter, your road to Damascus revelation. Stand up, not just physically though, do that too. Stand up in your spirit, stand up in your authority, stand up in the identity that hell tried to steal but heaven has restored. Say it with fire. I am armed with the word of God. I am aligned with the will of God. I am anointed by the Spirit of God. I will not miss this move. Say it until your circumstances surrender to your confession. Say it until your breakthrough breaks through. Say it until the 48 hours become 48 years of unstoppable momentum. The clock is ticking, warrior. But it's not ticking against you, it's ticking for you. Heaven is holding its breath, waiting for your response. Have you ever wondered why your energy disappeared when you needed it most? Why your body demands rest when your mind screams for action? Why you feel like you're drowning in sacred stillness while the world rushes past your window? What if I told you that what feels like spiritual paralysis is actually divine protection? You've been carrying a secret shame, haven't you? The shame of sleeping through your own breakthrough. The guilt of feeling exhausted when everyone else seems to be running marathons of faith. You wake up tired, you go to bed tired, and somewhere between the fatigue and the confusion, you started believing the lie that you're lazy. But beloved, what if your weariness isn't weakness? What if it's a womb? You see, there are seasons when God doesn't call you to fight. He calls you to rest. Not because you're defeated, but because you're being rebuilt from the inside out. You've been placed under spiritual anesthesia, and the great physician is performing surgery on your soul. This is not laziness. This is lockdown, holy lockdown. Heaven has sealed you in a sacred chamber where the noise of the world cannot penetrate, where the opinions of others cannot wound, where the pressure to perform cannot crush what's being carefully crafted within you. You think you're stuck, but you're actually being preserved. The prophet Isaiah knew this truth. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. Wait. The Hebrew word is kava, not passive waiting, but expectant hoping, like a mother waiting for birth, like a seed waiting for spring. You're not behind schedule, chosen one. You're right on heaven's time. Think about this. When a butterfly is forming inside its cocoon, it doesn't apologize for its stillness. It doesn't feel guilty for not flying while it's dissolving. The caterpillar must completely surrender its old form before the butterfly can emerge. And during that sacred transformation, the world sees nothing but silence. That's you right now, dissolving into glory. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Your incubation is driving him insane. He can't touch what's hidden in God. He can't corrupt what's covered by grace. He can't steal what's being strengthened in secret. So he whispers, lies about your stillness, hoping you'll break out of your cocoon too early and destroy what God is creating. Don't you dare listen to him. Every prophet went through this. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he split the Red Sea. Jesus spent 30 years in obscurity before he walked on water. David spent years in caves before he ruled from a palace. Paul spent 3 years in Arabia before he turned the world upside down. The preparation was never the punishment. It was the prerequisite. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? That heaviness in your chest isn't depression. It's the weight of glory growing too heavy for the old version of you to carry. God is expanding your capacity in the hidden place because what's coming won't fit in who you used to be. You think you're sleeping through your destiny, but heaven is downloading new blueprints into your spirit. You think you're missing opportunities, but God is removing you from distractions that would have derailed your purpose. You think you're falling behind, but you're actually being positioned ahead of the crowd. The world measures progress by speed. Heaven measures it by depth. And right now, beloved, you're going deep, deeper than you've ever gone, into the secret place where miracles are manufactured, into the Holy of Holies where ordinary people are transformed into vessels of extraordinary power. But I need you to understand something crucial. This incubation has an expiration date. There's a divine alarm clock set in heaven with your name on it. And when it rings, when the fullness of time has come, you won't wake up gradually. You'll explode into your destiny with such force that everyone who counted you out will have to count you back in. Listen to me, chosen one. Some of you have been in this incubation so long you've forgotten what you're being prepared for. You've gotten comfortable with the cocoon. But I'm here to remind you that cocoons aren't permanent addresses. They're transformation chambers. Can you feel it stirring? That restlessness in your bones, that electricity in the air. That's not anxiety, that's anticipation. Your spirit knows something your mind hasn't figured out yet. The seal is about to break. The chamber is about to open. The butterfly is about to emerge. But here's what I need you to do while you're still in the cocoon. Stop apologizing for your process. Stop feeling guilty for your pace. Stop comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. Chosen one, if you've felt paralyzed, if you've felt like you're moving through spiritual quicksand, if you've felt like you're disappointing God with your stillness, declare this truth with me right now. I'm not stuck. I'm sealed in sacredness. I'm not lazy. I'm being loaded with power. I'm not behind. I'm being prepared. What looks like delay is divine design. What feels like death is actually resurrection rehearsal. Say it again. Louder this time. Let your spirit hear what your mouth is declaring. Because in just a few moments, I'm going to show you what happens when the incubation period ends. When God opens the chamber. When the seal breaks and the glory that's been building in secret suddenly becomes visible to everyone who said you'd never amount to anything. The caterpillar's season is over, beloved. The butterfly's time has come. Beloved chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred hour together, I want you to remember 3 unshakable truths that heaven has whispered over your life today. First, the 48 hours ahead of you are not ordinary time. They are kairos moments, divine appointments where eternity intersects with your earthly journey. Every prayer you speak, every step of faith you take, every moment you choose to trust God's voice above the noise of this world will echo through generations. You are not just living your life, you are writing history in the invisible realm. Second, The spiritual armor God has given you is not decorative, it's functional. The belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, the sword of the Spirit. These are not metaphors for Sunday school. They are divine technology designed to dismantle every stronghold that has held your family captive. When you put on this armor in faith, hell itself trembles. Third, every delay you've experienced, every door that seemed permanently closed, every dream that looked buried, none of it was wasted. God has been using your wilderness to develop muscles you'll need for your promised land. Your scars are not signs of defeat, they are evidence of survival. Your silence was not abandonment, it was preparation. Thank you for trusting me with this sacred hour of your life. Thank you for staying faithful to the message when it would have been easier to walk away. If this ministry has blessed you, please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell, not for us, but for the person who desperately needs to hear next week's word from heaven. Until we meet again in this place of prayer and prophecy, remember, you are armed, you are aligned, you are anointed, and you will not miss this move. Go in peace, go in power, go in the unshakable knowledge that your God is fighting for you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In Jesus' Name, Amen.